Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 2 today. If you guys did miss the first episode and the opening one of this entire series on this brand new game, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one that was uploaded earlier this morning. And in that one, we went through all the admin of setting up our brand new team, creating the livery, the team name, sponsor, power unit, everything, and then of course, the first round, the Australian Grand Prix. But today, we're here for the Bahrain GP, but we do have some things to do at the very start of this episode regarding the actual team management. But first of all, I want to show you guys this screen of team acclaim. I said it in the previous episode that team acclaim is very important in this year's game. It's the overriding thing that will press forward yourself as a driver, but also the team as well, because with the more acclaim you have as a driver, that improves your overall team acclaim, and that is important because that will get you better sponsors, more money, and that will allow you to invest in the HQ and therefore get a better car obviously down the line. And you can see on the screen quite nicely the payout we got following the Australian Grand Prix. So now our total is $2.78 million in terms of the budget we've got on the HQ, and we can now obviously spend that on the actual facilities themselves. And I think we are going to go for it because there's no point kind of delaying it anymore. But having looked at, how our race went, it kind of felt like we need to work on the chassis. I'm thinking the tire wear, how light the car is, potentially in terms of how drivable it was, because it was pretty good on the soft tires, but as soon as we went to the hard tires last race, it was a lot less drivable. And I feel also the tire wear was a factor in terms of maybe the hard tires were just going off that much worse than potentially the soft tires. And if we look historically at career modes, apart from the engine, the chassis has always been a very good place to improve the car in terms of the lightness of it, meaning you're, coming out of the corners quicker and also going into them a little bit sharper. So I'm thinking about investing in the chassis side. We won't do that quite yet because right now we'll go on and sign a brand new sponsor first of all, because we may as well get that extra money first and then spend the money, the kind of big money on the HQ. So you can sort the sponsors available to us by the weekly income. So I just thought, okay, what's the largest weekly income we've got? Atlantic here, it's got a weekly goal clause of if we try and complete 75 laps during a Grand Prix race weekend. But in terms of the flat rate weekly income, it's the highest available to us, and that's obviously, I think, based off the sponsors we're able to choose from, I think are based off how we did in the last Grand Prix. So if you did even better, you may be able to get better weekly income off those sponsors. So it is very important to make sure you do well on the track, obviously, do your talking on the circuit, because that will actually pay out quite largely, obviously. So we're going to sign with Atlantic, so very exciting times. Our second sponsor on the car. In total, we can have 4 secondary sponsors. Then we've got the primary one that we already chose at the start of the first episode of Shark, but we're going to go ahead and place Atlantic now onto the livery in a few different places. We'll keep the Shark logos mostly everywhere, but you can literally customize where you want the logo. So unlike in real life where the sponsors may dictate where they want to be on the car depending on how much money they spend, on the game you get a complete customization of what you want your car to look like. So you really can try and create a certain aesthetic with your car if you really wanted to, and just go for the kind of cooler looking sponsors. But of course I'm going to just go for the better money because at this point Atlantic's still a pretty cool looking logo, and obviously the biggest payout, going to go for that to add on to the weekly income. But we're going to go ahead and purchase an upgrade on the chassis HQ, the facility. We're going to go for the build time here. So I could have gone for failure, but really, there's going to be failures at every step of the way in this early stage of the career mode, so I thought I may as well go for a shorter build time. I'd rather have parts maybe fail, but at least we're making them faster and we get to that failure quicker, rather than having to wait, 4 weeks and there's still being that 30% chance of failure. I'd rather just get the kind of parts rolling a little bit quicker, and hopefully if we, upgrade that part of the departments in every kind of way, we'll just have this kind of HQ that just rapidly prototypes parts, very, very quickly. So the final bit of admin to do before we go to the Bahrain Grand Prix is we've got 2 days in this midweek till the Grand Prix. So we've got these 4 activities to choose from. I'm going to go for the driver promotion filming, and that will hopefully add on to the acclaim our driver has and try and boost that forward, because like I literally just mentioned a bit earlier, the higher our acclaim is, the higher the team's is, and obviously then the better sponsors will come our way. So it seemed like a very logical kind of next step to do just before the Bahrain Grand Prix. But that is literally only 2 days into the GP, so we move on through the calendar, and now it's time for that second race weekend. So here we are then, Bahrain looking lovely as ever on this brand new game. We're going to go straight into Q1, and I think for this entire series, that will be the pattern of the way I kind of do these videos, guys. There's no really point showing you much of practice anymore, because it's the kind of same thing that has been there for the last 2 years of the game. Nothing really new to show you or kind of interest to talk about. So we delve straight into Q1 then. interesting times. I don't know how we're going to go around here. You know, question marks of how the car will go and then how I'll go. Historically, I will admit I've not been the quickest driver around Bahrain, but at the same time, as last year's game went on, I got quicker and quicker around Bahrain, so I've definitely gotten better at the circuit. So let's just see how the car performs. Obviously, it went pretty okay at Australia, but we lost a lot of time and pace in the race. But qualifying was pretty okay around Melbourne. So Q1, the first flying lap we do is only P19 here. Not too sure where our teammate Mick Schumacher is at this stage, but that was early days. Wasn't too quick, more of a banker lap really, and now we'll go for the second proper lap, try and gain some time there. About nearly 1.5 tenths already through only just the first 2-3 turns there. So decent amount of traction off the first sector, getting about 3 tenths on that second fly. But Schumacher is actually ahead of us right now by 1 place as we're now on our third and final flying lap. We're down in P19, Schumacher's P18, so right now he is out qualifying us here, which is a shock really, because I would have thought we would have had him. We had the complete measure of him around Albert Park, so here we come through the last corner then. We've gained a decent amount of time through that exit curve, a little bit wide, but nearly about 3 tenths gained on the third and final flyer across the line, and we will out qualify Mick Schumacher and crucially get up into P16, which is Q2 by the skin of our teeth. Literally the last position on this order. Of course, 22 runners because of the new team that we've got. So the Q1 kind of knockout phase is the top 16. So we are P16. We make it through. You can see very close margins with Antonio Giovinazzi and Kevin Magnussen there in the Haas. But very good showing. And to be fair, I've got to point this out. I didn't actually say this at the very start, but from episode 1 to episode 2, even though these episodes have been uploaded on the same day, guys, I've recorded them on different days ahead of time, and in between there has been a patch to the performances. So you'll notice, if you look at the tree, Racing Point have improved quite a fair bit. Haas have gone down lower on the R&D tree, so that's kind of changed everything around. So it's actually quite a good sign that comfortably we were able to out-qualify Magnussen and Grosjean, because on paper, our car is actually better than both the Haas and Williams cars. So that's actually good news. That's where the car is. But the only thing is then, going into Q2, I used all my tyres. I used every single soft set, and you don't get another free soft tyre set unless you make Q3. So I've literally got no fresh tyres to use. I'll get a fresh set, I believe, for the race when we start that. If we don't qualify, obviously, into Q3, it's a free choice of tyre then. So what I'm going to have to do is what sometimes they do in real life, literally, so quite realistic in a way, maybe, is just sit out Q2. There's just no point running. It comes and goes. It's the kind of ebb and flow, and why I'm looking forward to this entire journey as a whole long-term project in this career mode series. I hope you guys are as well. So let's go then towards the grid for Sunday, second race. Let's see how we can do. Hopefully a little bit more of a consistent race than the one we had at Australia.
We're here again then at a circuit famous for its stunning visuals and thrilling battles for glory. Who will take the spotlight in the Bahrain Grand Prix today? There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1 of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. And what would any Grand Prix weekend be without the one and only Anthony Davidson, alongside me as always, to talk you through the action.
Well, it was a really impressive lap in qualifying to get pole position, but are they going to be able to hold on to the lead into the first corner with so many quick starters around them? A couple of favourites for the win then, but who comes out on top doesn't really matter as long as they give us an entertaining show en route to the checkered flag. And we want to see fair fighting, of course, out there on the track. Let's hope the stewards don't have to get involved too much today.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Vettel, Leclerc, Max Verstappen, and Albon, Sainz, Ricciardo, Norris, and Esteban Ocon, Stroll, Perez, Daniel Kvyat, and Gasly, Giovinazzi, the owner driver, Kevin Magnussen, and Kimi Raikkonen, Schumacher, Grosjean, Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
So in terms of the race strategies then for this second race, we've got a bit of a difference this time. A one stop from the medium tyres to the hards. Of course, we get a free choice of what tyre we can start on, being outside the top 10, or a two stop. And we're going to straight away go for that because last race we got very hurt on the hard tyres. And at the moment, I just don't trust them. At some point, we'll have to learn to love them and use them. But I think at this stage, early on, let's just go aggressive and just go for having a bit of fun in the car. We might fall behind because of the second pit stop, but you know, it's worth the gamble and the experiment this early stage of our entire career. We just don't know because there's no point just doing the same thing we did last episode. So it's an aggressive strategy, but to be fair, theoretically, it says we're only going to lose 6 seconds, and I think we definitely lost 6 seconds on the hards last race. So I'm confident this can actually be a much better strategy for us, and I think some of the AI will also do this for sure. Soft to 2 sets of mediums, nice and punchy and aggressive. Fuel-wise, we're also going to give ourselves a little bit more breathing room than we did Australia, so hopefully kind of, you know, we've already learned from that first episode, and we can take that through and have a better Grand Prix today. So here we go then. So 5 red lights for the second race of this season, the Bahrain Grand Prix under the floodlights. 4 red lights are out and we're underway from P16. It's a good start compared to Pierre Gasly, who bogs down quite a fair bit here. So it seems like the pattern this year's game is that AI are a little bit more susceptible to bogging down potentially as Gasly goes for another massive dive into turn 1. We tried to follow him through, but he's re-overtaken us. There was some contact there for one of the Racing Point cars of Lance Stroll. Some carbon fibre definitely flew off there on the front wing. So we're up into P13, so following Gasly, who, like I said, did the same thing. He made a dive bomb again to the inside of a load of cars. We followed him through, and quite nicely that's worked out for us. So I think we should just kind of stick with what Gasly's been doing so far in this career mode as we now try and maybe have a look around the outside of him there as Perez squeezes him out. We get on the curb very aggressively there, but we go toe-to-toe with the AlphaTauri car, who's also got the Honda power, of course, and we get down the inside and we'll get the job done. And we're up into P12 then, so very, very good start. A much better one to the one we had at Australia, and we made use of our good start for once and also just placed our car in the right kind of space, unlike Australia where we kind of got boxed off in Sector 1. So, yeah, decent stuff, but remember, obviously, Australia started off pretty relatively well and then obviously got worse as we went on through the Grand Prix. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, but this has been a very good beginning of the Grand Prix. Let's now just settle in, settle down onto these soft tyres and try and do the best job we can. Of course, we need to be aggressive and keep on going to make this two-stop work because we've got cars ahead of us that are on medium tyres. So, you know, ideally, we want to try and overtake them if we want to make our strategy actually work out today. That's also a lot easier said than done. One of those cars is Sergio Perez, and like I mentioned previously, with the patch that I've had between episode 1 and 2 on this game, the Racing Points now are kind of a bit more faster and where they kind of should be on pace. So that's going to be quite a tough job. But as we get on through the first few laps of this Grand Prix then, looking back behind us, Mick Schumacher also doing a great job actually ahead of many cars, both Haas cars, both Williams, and also on the Alfa Romeos of, I think that's Kimi Raikkonen potentially. So Schumacher also doing quite well. So respectively, both us in our kind of respective packs are doing pretty decently. I'm on the kind of edge and end of the kind of top 10 pack, and Schumacher's leading the kind of bottom 6 there. So both of us doing quite well relative to kind of, you know, his pace to mine. I think that's where the car kind of is really. So looking decent. And actually, speaking of maybe not catching the Racing Point car, we are actually on the back of him. So, you know, the difference between the softs and the mediums may just be good enough around Bahrain to allow us to close up and overtake him. And to be fair, Perez is also getting held up a little bit in the turbulent air of Lando Norris, I think that is, in the McLaren, also on the softs. So if we can get Perez, we will be in a decent position where we're ahead of everyone on mediums. And into turn 1, we're going to make a massive dive down the inside there. Sensed that Perez was a little bit caught unaware, and we caught him napping side by side through turns 2, and we keep it through, and we're up into P11 of the Bahrain Grand Prix. We are, well, we're surely going to get a nosebleed at this stage. We're very, very high indeed. Obviously, though, it's such early days. Lap 6, you know, this is where in Australia everything was going well for us as well. Obviously, we're a little bit lower at Australia, but still, everything was feeling quite nice in the car, as it does right now. But I'm just wary, you know, I'm not sure how the mediums will cope and how the rest of the race will go. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. But as it stands, this has been a very great start. Opening 6 laps, P11 in. We're actually now pressurizing Lando Norris a little bit in the McLaren. So let's just keep on going. So it's a combination of the car suiting the circuit as it stands right now, the heavy fuel. And also, to be fair, I felt really decent in the car. I actually didn't feel that awkwardness around Bahrain like I maybe did the start of the F1 2019 game cycle. So definitely those improvements I made over the last game around this circuit have helped out there. But at the moment, it's a domination by the Mercedes guys. Like I said, the patch has improved the Mercedes performance. So they're now a 1-2 as it stands. Bottas ahead of Lewis Hamilton, ahead of then Verstappen. There's Hamilton gets on the curb, and Hamilton spun it, and Hamilton's AI is out of mid. Oh my god! Oh, what a crash! Oh my words! What a spectacular crash for Lewis Hamilton, and he's out of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Look at him. He's absolutely been mullered by Alexander Albon. What an incident. That is absolutely insane. That is going to be the craziest natural AI mistake and an incident I've ever seen on any F1 game. That was unbelievable. Hamilton got on the curb, I think that was, on that same curb that as a player, if you touch that curb, you're spun round. And that's exactly what his AI did. He made a mistake, got on the curb, maybe with the tyre wear, he went a little bit too into the corner, and he couldn't catch it. He tried to catch the tank slapper. He span round, and then Albon came in a little bit too hot and T-boned him, and what a spectacular crash that was. Hamilton went airborne, lost the front left tyre, and he's out the Grand Prix. And you can see here, under the virtual safety car, I have pit with Lando Norris, and we've actually overtaken Lando in the pit lane. Our team have done a massive job. Well done, aarava Racing. Great pit stop there. We were faster than McLaren on the pit stop, and we've been able to jump Lando Norris in the pit lane, as well as making a quote-unquote free pit stop under the virtual safety car as it ends now. So literally the entire time in the pit lane, we're under virtual safety car. If you remember, of course, everyone has to go at this same delta, slower time pace. So in theory, anyone pitting gains an advantage, and we've gained a full advantage there as we came out and it went green after we exited the pit lane. But let's have a look then at this onboard from Hamilton and see what actually went on. And like I suspected, yep, he hits that curb. That is so easy to do as a player, but it's amazing to see an AI make a similar mistake to a player, and then, you know, he tries to catch it. You know, he went left into the spin, but then it kind of snapped on him quite aggressively. And then Albon here, just very bad timing, but what a spectacular crash. 2 episodes in, the second race, and we've already seen the vast improvements from the AI. Like, we know from this game, we've been told by Codemasters that this is one of the things that they try to improve the AI in this year's game, is that they will sometimes occasionally make those more natural player-like mistakes, and you will get incidents like that that are a little bit more realistic to what you would see with players, basically. So that was amazing. And the shunt alone with Albon was quite spectacular as well. So awesome. So early days in this career mode in this game, and we've already seen some amazing action as we easily overtake now Nicholas Latifi there in a straight line. Obviously, he's in the Williams car. He's kind of out of sync of this Grand Prix. He's yet to pit in this race. Of course, we've made that one free pit stop under the virtual safety car, as did this man, Alexander Albon. So it was Albon, myself, and Norris that came into the pit lane. Of course, Albon had to come in anyway to change his front wing, but me and Norris dived in to make a free pit stop work, and it's paid out. Well, it is paying out for me, I feel, because we're already up into P15. We'll be P40 now as Russell gets very aggressively overtaken around the outside by Albon in the last corner. We now use Albon as a bit of a tow to pull ourselves on, and can we even try a little pass maybe on Albon? We go around the outside. He's a little bit slow, you know, the Red Bull, so maybe sustain some damage with that crash here with Hamilton's. We go side by side with the Thai Brit driver there. He's on the right hand side, use ERS, and we're going to use the overtake mode with DRS as well on the left hand side. Can we go the long way around? It'll be very tricky though, to be fair, versus the Red Bull car, but we're still neck and neck. It's a fantastic battle with the Red Bull racing car so early on in our career here, but we try our best, but unfortunately it's not enough, and eventually that Red Bull will have the pace to get us in the corner. And to be fair, what I've noticed already very early on in this game is that if you can get side by side with an AI, even AI on AI battles, they're a lot kind of, you know, you can get caught up in a battle very easy, but as soon as you get in clean air, the AI are straight on it and they'll pull away. As you can see, clearly, I was so close to Albon, but as soon as he got in that clean air now and pushed me away, he just waltzed off in the distance. So, you know, I can fight quite well. I feel like my racecraft's pretty good to, you know, hold up AI and try and battle them, but as soon as they get you and they get that clean air, they will not hesitate to just pull away from you. So that's going to be the real difficult thing in this year's game until we get a better car that can obviously keep up with them in a straight line and whatnot, and, you know, keep up in the corners. We're just going to get minced every time we get overtaken and we can't keep it side by side with them. But the thing is, just like last year, and even more so now in this year's game, when the AI battle each other and they're side by side and they hold each other up, that can be very powerful. As you can literally see before your eyes there on lap 11, I caught up back to Albon in one single lap because he's getting held up here by Magnussen up ahead. And now we're basically right where we were before, and ahead of Magnussen is also Mick Schumacher, our teammate, on that one stop. He started on the medium tyre, Schumacher did, and he's going for the one stop mediums to hards. So this is crucial. If I can get to the point where I'm overtaking Schumacher, I'm basically equalising my two stop because we've both got one stop to make. So as we watch on Schumacher versus Magnussen side by side, these two cars ahead of myself and Albon on a different strategy to me and Albon, both of us looking to get past them on a two stop here, and instead we're going to catch Albon napping here as he gets caught up behind Schumacher. So using our teammate to good use, playing a bit of Formula 1 chess there, and we get round the outside of Albon. So we just overtook a Red Bull Racing car. So like I said, when you get caught up in a battle, you can really go for it and you can play it quite clever and get this job done. It's just when you're getting some clean air, it's a lot more difficult. And so now we use Schumacher as a tow round the outside, pounce round a little bit cautious into that turn because I wasn't too sure how close Schumacher's front wing was, but we got the job done. Thank you, teammate. And so we're back up into P11 now of this Grand Prix, but this is fantastic news. This was the only worry for me with the two stop, was that we're going to lose so much time with that extra pit stop. But one, we have the free pit stop under virtual safety car, and two, our pace has been actually very good on the softer compound compared to what we would have had if we went to hard tires, for example. And so we've already overtaken our teammate and we've both got one stop left. So we're on course for a very good strategy, I think. We could do some really good work here as we're now up into P10 as we overtake Magnussen. Remember though, we've still got one more pit stop. I'm also not too sure what everyone else is doing. You know, we've got Raikkonen, Gasly ahead of us. I don't really know where they're going to filter out, how everything's going to go, what's the tyre we're going to be like at the end of this medium stint, what's the hard tyre going to perform like. So let's not get ahead of ourselves, but at the moment it's looking very good. And I must say, I do have a bit of a nosebleed because we're up in P5 now of the Bahrain Grand Prix, but we've got Ricciardo and Albon right behind me. Ricciardo's looking pretty damn quick. He's overtaken Albon, and that Renault, I think it's seen a bit of an improvement with the patch from episode 1 to 2 because it's looking pretty punchy as we move through onto the end of lap 15 to lap 16. A little bit slow through the last one. I took way too much curb on the entry, and Ricciardo's going to come through, but I'm going to let him through on purpose. Use no ERS, standard fuel mixture, because let's remember, yeah, we're up in P5, but I'm not fighting Renault. I'm not fighting Red Bull. I shouldn't be fighting them. So my theory was there's no point fighting these two because I'm going to lose too much time on my own race if I fight them too much. Yes, I overtook Albon. That's because he got held up by my teammate. So letting them through is going to be the best bet because I can try and get some DRS off them, try and keep up with them somewhat. And you can see, again, this is the kind of, you know, theory of you've given them clean air, they'll pull away, because on lap 17 onto 18, they start to already pull a second on me. I've only just about got DRS off Albon. He comes in for his second pit stop. My pit stop window opens, so now we push as hard as we can with the DRS on lap 18 and come in for that second stop. But I feel like we would have been way further back if we had fought Ricciardo and Albon too much there. So, you know, you guys may think that I've let that off a little bit easy, but I think we've played the clever strategy there of letting them do their thing. And like in real life sometimes, you just got to do your own race and not get held up in someone else's race, which I don't feel like we're in the same race as Ricciardo and Albon. I think we're still fighting the guys behind us, which does include, to be fair, Ricciardo's teammate Ocon, I think. And also, I think potentially the McLarens of Norris and perhaps Sainz as well. So we'll see about that as we come out the pit lane then behind the two Alfa Romeos, who are both on a one-stop, I think. You can see the Renault Ricciardo just comes out ahead of Albon there in P11. Albon P12, myself P13. Behind me is Sainz on a set of medium tyres, so he's on a two-stop. Schumacher then in P15 on the one-stop. So now it's a case of can myself, Albon, Ricciardo, Sainz behind me, Ocon as well, find a way through a load of one-stoppers, including the two Alphas. I think the Alpha Tauris as well of Gasly and Kvyat. So as we come through onto lap 19, 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix. We're in P13. Now is the time where we can get excited here, guys, because we're P13 and we're going to the end of this Grand Prix, and we've got two Alfa Romeos who in theory we should be able to pass. So we could be up into theory P11 the highest. maybe even more. You never know. So let's not get too excited, but I'm feeling good about this one. We're on a good strategy. The two-stop, a lot of people have done the two-stop, and the fact that we did a two-stop under the virtual safety car has paid out, because now we're closing up to Albon and onto the Alfa Romeo. We're going to make it 3 wide into turn 1, dive around the outside of Raikkonen there. He's still on the inside. It's literally neck and neck into turn 1. We're going to have to squeeze out the Iceman. Albon's got the job done, but we're up into P11 now, and we've got Kimi, but Ocon's coming thick and fast behind him in P13. Hopefully Raikkonen can hold him up somewhat, and we can try and use Albon as a bit of a tow. I say that, moving on to lap 21, you can see what happened earlier on the Grand Prix. Albon, I can't even see him barely. He's basically just gone off in the distance, but he's catching up to Giovinazzi. So again, he's going to get caught up behind the Italian, and we're going to hopefully close back up to him maybe. And at the moment, Raikkonen behind me is doing a great job. He's still ahead of Ocon. So Ocon's being held up a treat. So everything's working out in our favour, as now Albon overtakes Giovinazzi very aggressively. I think Gio made a mistake there and locked up into the last turn. And so can we get a good run on the Italian? Use a bit of ERS there, but not too much. I want to save some for the end of the Grand Prix. Standard fuel mixture as well, because I'm not making the same mistake I made at Australia of running out of fuel and ERS overtake mode to use at the very end of the last few laps. So we're going to make sure we're conservative in that way. And so we're going to play the patient game with Giovinazzi. Wait till the DRS zone here in the middle sector. Open DRS, bit of a squirt of the overtake button. Rich mix engaged, and we'll close up on the Italian, the Alfa Romeo racing car. Around the outside we go, like we did on Schumacher. Very close stuff there on the left-hand side, but a fantastic overtake on the softer compounder tyre, remember. And we're up into P10 now of the Grand Prix. It's actually worked out. Someone else ahead of us must have pit. So we are now in points-paying positions as it stands. With 7 laps to go, this strategy is looking like an absolute blinder. Of course, I will admit we got very lucky with the virtual safety car, but you got to use that luck to our benefit here. So until lap 25, Ocon is coming at us at a rate of knots. We've not got any ERS to hardly use on the bottom right. There we go, defensive. He has a little look around the outside, but we're going to keep that through for now. But it's not just Ocon behind him. Look at that. The McLaren of Carlos Sainz is also coming at us potentially there. So there'll be a big old fight. If we want to keep the points today, we go defensive again into the second sector. A little bit too deep though. I can already sense Ocon's going to do the switchback move. He does. We're neck and neck. We're going to use the overtake mode just a little bit, but we've hardly got any ERS. We're on single figures there before we enter the next corner. We're going to harvest some energy, of course, every time we brake, but we've just basically just got a smidge to use every single straight. So we're going to have to very tactically use this, and also pray a little bit that these two fight a lot, and our prayers might be answered, because here goes Sainz then on the right-hand side of your screen, round the outside of Ocon, then the Frenchman versus the Spaniard. Behind them, the two Alfa Romeos on 1 stops, but these two did a 2-stop with me, but of course these two did not pit under the virtual safety car. So if we're being honest, the only reason we're ahead of them was because of that virtual safety car, but we've made the most of it, because Lando Norris has not, because he's behind all these guys, so we've definitely made the most of it. But these guys are having an absolute ding-dong battle. Look at that! Sainz on the inside, Ocon on the outside. They've been fighting for the entire lap here of sectors 1 and 2, still at it. Sainz with DRS. Ocon, I think, has also got DRS off me as well, and the Spaniard shoots it to the inside. He's looking like the faster man out of the two, to be fair, and Sainz does get that, and he's up into P11 of this Bahrain Grand Prix. So now, might it be myself versus Carlos Sainz for our first points-paying position in Formula 1 with our brand new team in the My Team career mode. Lap 28, the second last lap of the Grand Prix. We go defensive. Again, still not too much ERS to use. We've got some fuel to burn, but it's right on the edge. Really fine margins, and we've got a massive bit of oversteer through into turn 2, and we just narrowly keep this ahead. But Sainz is all the time in the background, and onto Ocon. Look at that, Ocon going to the inside. Thankfully, those two going side by side right now in this corner will help me out quite a lot. As I look back behind me, that gave me a little bit of breathing room. But onto the last lap of the Grand Prix. Now, this is it. The gloves are off. Last lap of the Grand Prix, using all my ERS on overtake mode. But Sainz comes through. We squeeze him to the right-hand side to try and make his racing line tighter. We're on the outside. We're going to go for this switchback, but it doesn't work. Sainz blocks us off, but we get a good exit. Very aggressive on the curb. Use overtake mode, DRS, literally using every last bit of ERS mode I have here. and we've got to go for it. We're going to make a massive dive down the inside, slow the thing down, narrowly just missed making contact there, but a massive amount of oversteer on the exit though. It allows Sainz to keep it through, but we're going to shoot it for the second time. Just make the dive. We've got to do it. We've got to try everything we can to try and get this 1 point as the checkered flag falls. Charles Leclerc wins a second race in our My Team career mode season, but we're still neck and neck. Lando though has the advantage, and down the hill I break a little bit early, tried to get the cut in, but then the Ocon comes out of nowhere and taps me on the rear, and that may just be it. That little mistake of maybe trying to be a bit too clever, braking early to try and get a tighter line in, allowed Ocon to come in, and he definitely made contact with me on the inside there. And now you can see my tyres have gone off as the rear end steps out, and Sainz will get the last point paying position. And very much keeping with the reality check we got last episode in the first race, we've got another massive one, and it's a reality check of how cruel and harsh this sport we all love is. This is Formula 1. Sometimes it's not a fairy tale, and it's not today, unfortunately. We are not going to get our first point. We come in P11, a very noble effort, and still a fantastic race that I'm very proud of, because that was an inspired two-stop, really good stuff. Pitting on the virtual safety car really worked out. We get the driver of the day, so even Formula 1 thinks I did very, very well. But just in the end, a big what if, I don't know. Could we have got Sainz? Could we have kept it around the outside if I just didn't break that a little bit earlier? I don't know, because I also felt like I'm so poor into that left-hander that I could have just spewed off into the side, and then Ocon would have overtaken me. But like I said, here is a replay. Ocon literally tapped me on the inside, so if it wasn't for him, I might have got half a chance to get that tighter exit I wanted to get Sainz on that next DRS straight. But alas, it's not meant to be. I'm sure a few of you will be disappointed in me, but I did try my hardest, but it's just not meant to be, and that is the harsh reality of F1 sometimes. So there we go, P11. We'll have to try next time, but that was a really, really entertaining Grand Prix.
That's it for another spectacular Grand Prix here in Bahrain, and a real champion's drive to take the win. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions, and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again.
So even with the patch, that definitely did make Mercedes the clear faster car this episode, because Bottas had a two-stop. It actually ended up being a 1-2 for Ferrari, I think, again. So Ferrari in our career mode save looking very, very good. Of course, they got the benefit of being the faster team last episode when it wasn't when it was pre-patch performances, but that may make things very, very interesting for our AI championship battle between the Ferraris and the Mercedes, and maybe even the Red Bulls later on. We don't know. But in terms of our race, then P11, Schumacher got up into P16. So even he had a very good race. He did a one-stop, and he came from P19 to P16. So genuinely, our car was actually really decent at this circuit. Even with the patch performance improving the Racing Point car and the likes of the Alpha and the AlphaTauri, because the Haas decreased and the Williams decreased even more, I think, and just due to, I think our car just suited this circuit. You know what? We did pretty damn well as a unit. I'm proud of what Schumacher did as well, P16, and obviously I'm a little bit gutted, but still very happy with P11. So he's sitting P9 then in the championship, 0 points to our name, as well as Alfa Romeo, but we got close. And like I said, with the Shark sponsorship we chose, obviously that bonus goal of earning 5 points, it's a race like this where there's a virtual safety car or a full safety car or rain or whatever. That's why I feel like we could get 5 points in one go at some point this season. Alas, we weren't able to get just 1 point today, but like I said, that's the harsh reality of Formula 1. But that was nonetheless a spectacular race. I've said that word many, many times, but in this episode, that's just because it was a really fun race for me to drive. Amazing to see that mistake from Hamilton. So if you enjoyed all of that, guys, then be sure to smash the like button. I mean, what a first day of uploading. Episode 1 earlier today, this morning, and then tonight, this episode number 2 was exquisite. And tomorrow, those of you who pre-ordered the Schumacher edition of the game, get your hands on this game. But this is just the beginning of this entire career mode series. We've got pretty much an entire year to go, so I'm looking forward to it. If we get more races like that, I'm all for it. So if you did enjoy it, like I said, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.